at 5:15 on your home for Carolina football.
97.9 The Hill's game broadcast begins with Inside Carolina Live at 2 o'clock.
97.9 The Hill, WCHL Chapel Hill, your 2022 North Carolina Association of Broadcasters Station of the Year.
Coming to you straight from a Carolina football tailgate party in the heart of the southern part of heaven, from the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
That's Joey Powell. I'm Tommy Ashley. AJ on the wheels. John Siegley helping out. It's a little wet out there.
A little bit.
We're like in monsoon build the ark season right now. But Carolina doesn't kick it off until 5:15. Joey Powell, this is one of those games. There's been a lot of noise all week.
Distractions.
Tez Walker ruled, or not ruled, or whatever they did. He's ineligible for the remainder of the 23 season at the moment.
Can I ask a favor?
You want to get into it?
I haven't had a platform to talk about Tez.
Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're not aware, Greg Barnes and I talked about Tez on Thursday night. And Greg is the preeminent expert on NCAA.
You want a 5,000-word takedown of anything? That's your guy.
Greg Barnes. He sort of outlined the situation, the process, and then the hearing on Thursday, and then discuss his thoughts on the hearing itself. And Joey Powell hasn't had a chance to talk about it.
I mean, the people are waiting on this, I'm sure.
The floor is yours, Joey.
The only thing I can think of is that the NCAA prides themselves and makes money off of the back of student athletes. They are supposed to be the moat that protects the student athlete castle, right? Well, Thursday they blew up the moat and stabbed Tez Walker in the face. This was a slam dunk for them to get some good, nice, free goodwill. And not only did they not do it, they absolutely just refused to take the one layup they had.
Yep.
And I've heard you say, and you got a little heated for you, but I don't understand how they can run these commercials that air during March Madness and during college football talking about the student athlete this, the student athlete that. They posted stuff on Twitter, ironically, on Thursday, right before the Tez final denial came out. And just, you can't make this stuff up, man. I'm going to refrain from using the illustrative words that I wanted to use because this is a family-friendly program. But it's beyond painful and beyond wrong for what the NCAA has done. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I thought about coming in hot, but I'm going to temper things. And now we get that out of the way, we can talk about the game today.
Well, I mean, let's stay here a little bit. Nothing that happened with Tez Walker surprised me with the NCAA.
Sure, we've learned. Nothing
at all. What is disappointing for me listening to this stuff and watching it and seeing how it goes through is how randomly the NCAA makes decisions. They bent Carolina over the coals for 7 years or more in an area that they had no business in.
Yeah.
And ultimately, finally, said that we have no power here. And then when you have a Tez Walker situation, well, you've got players that have less of a case than Tez Walker had. Less of a reasoning for transferring again to wherever. And they allow them to play. I mean, I'm all for student athletes playing. Everybody play. Play everybody. But my thing is when you've got guys that are in their 8th year of college, you've got guys that are playing at 4 schools. You've got guys, Colorado's on TV right now, and they've got a guy whose situation was not as strong as Tez Walker. He was eligible. The randomness that they apply is what bothers me about it. Tez Walker deserves to play, yes, but the system is so far broken that nothing should surprise us until something's done about the system.
Well, and they cite precedents.
Yeah.
And then don't use their own precedent.
Yeah. And that's what it is, and to Greg's point, and folks, if you haven't listened to Greg Barnes on the show we did, They made Tez Walker jump through every hoop possible.
And he did it.
And he did it.
And he did them successfully.
And they still said no. We can debate the committee, who's on the committee, all that stuff. The bottom line is that young man in North Carolina did everything that they asked him to do, and they still said no. To your point, Joey, there's a game today.
There is a game today.
And so Tez Walker will be watching.
Helmet stickers. Helmet stickers for Tez Walker today. North Carolina's wearing little circle number 9s on the back of their helmets that we've seen, and he will be a game captain. So I feel like it's the least they can do. They're trying to keep him engaged, try to keep him, like Max said earlier this week, wrap their arms around him, lift him up, keep him engaged, keep him close, as you want to do when somebody's dealing with some mental health issues and dealing with what he's dealing with. Because, his world just basically came crumbling down this week.
And not only can he not play at North Carolina, he can't go play anywhere.
Yeah, he can't go to Sweet Mary, Sister of the Poor State Tech. And he can't go anywhere because of the NCAA's rules. And it's just, it's absolutely beyond frustrating. Yeah, today's game, man. First off, Tommy, I know you don't partake in sports information, but this line opened up at North Carolina minus 13.5, and it's up to 19.
Wow.
And I don't know what's pushing that. I don't proclaim to know that kind of stuff, but that's a lot of movement, bro. But, yeah, for those who care and have just tuned in, North Carolina minus 19.5, your total sitting at about 58.5. I don't know how this weather that we're sitting in is going to affect that. Because right now, brother, it is it's wetter than an otter's butthole.
Well, if we suddenly disappear off this stream and off CHL, it's because we literally got struck by lightning.
Absolutely.
I think NC State has some problems in Raleigh.
I shouldn't
with
laugh.
The storm. That was a rather large thunderbolt behind us. But
for those of you who don't know what Tommy's talking about, there was NC State has a brand new scoreboard, and their fans have been really excited about it. And apparently, God didn't like it because it got hit by lightning earlier during this storm. It is now no longer working.
It has been quite interesting. Shout out to AJ and WCHL crew for getting this set up.
AJ got us a good boat. He got us a good boat today.
Yeah, I think I could kayak across the Bowes lot legitimately right now if we needed to. But shout out to everybody that's in the Bowes lot deck partying, having fun, tailgating, a lot of cornhole going on.
I kind of like this, bro.
I do too.
I'm not going to lie. It's as much crap as North Carolina fans get for tailgating in a parking deck. This is kind of dope. We got people all kind of gathered into one spot. You got your different setups where you got to do with the old Jeep Vietnam War trailer pop-up hydraulic.
State, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Helmet State over there.
Helmet State University and Jeff Gord. Those guys are awesome. You got all kinds of people around. This is kind of dope, despite the fact that it's raining harder than a cow, on a flat rock outside.
You and your things. One thing about tailgating that I like the most that the deck allows in a storm like this is the smells.
Oh, dude, somebody had some pepper wings coming through earlier.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. If you're watching this and you're thinking about not coming out to the game, come on out and join us. Plenty of spaces in here to stay dry. Plenty of tickets available, I'm sure, on the secondary market.
You'll talk about a ball game?
Let's get to a ball. One more comment.
No worries.
I'm impressed by how Chancellor G, Bubba Cunningham, and Mac Brown went all in this week.
I made the joke on Twitter, but I really have. I've never seen everybody in the entire record label jump out and spit ether on a situation the way that the Chancellor, athletic director, and coach have in this. Very rarely do you see academia, the leadership in academia, the leadership of the university, and leadership of athletics go this hard together. And it's actually remarkable to see it coming from North Carolina, because that's not something that's happened all the time in North Carolina's history. So it's
very
kind of
unified
remarkable to see that. Yeah. And it's, again, it goes to show you how slam dunk of a decision this was, that every single pocket of the university was like, what the hell are we doing?
Yep. So shout out to Tez.
Hate it for the kid, man. I hate it for the kid.
Hate it for him, but a lot North Carolina is doing, and maybe there's some sort of avenue there, and maybe it works out for the positive this year, if not this year and beyond. Great kid, did everything right. Things still didn't work out. Appalachian State's in this building right near us here, Joey, 515. One reason Mac Brown put in turf, and a lot of people don't like the turf in Kenan Stadium,
was for this.
Is for days like today.
Absolutely.
The turf will be solid. It will not be swampy.
It drains well.
It drains. Thank goodness it drains well. And so North Carolina will play App State. Everybody knows about last year. I don't see that happening this year, but last year was a sort of a narrative-setting game for North Carolina. I think today could be a similar type game, Joey.
What's crazy about App State is, they've still got some veteran players, but they don't have the experience like they had last year or like they had in 19 when they came in here and smacked North Carolina around a little bit. They've still got some guys that have played ball, but a lot of them now are, as you can imagine, transfers in from other places and have not taken as many snaps as what North Carolina even saw last year. I think the big thing today is, and I swear it's been said over and over again, stacking days. I'm sorry, hang on. Did you just walk up here and ask if we had any App State koozies or App State swag? Well, they really are confused when they come off the mountain, aren't they? Anyway,
it's all in fun.
Like I was saying,
they like White Claws at App State.
You heard me. Say if North Carolina
sounds like a game day sign.
If North Carolina's wine and cheese and App State's meth and bologna, I don't know. So literally, you have a North Carolina team that they've talked about stacking good days and stacking things together as a team this year. Now it's time to stack a win on the back of a win.
Yeah,
I think they got to parrot Mac a little bit. They got some of their respect back last week, but I want to ask you, was last week real? And I think today is the day you can tell an answer to that.
Right.
Do they come out today and do they put the smack down on an Appalachian team that's going to be undersized, underexperienced, under-talented than North Carolina is? And that's not a knock on App State. It's just I think where the two teams are right now. App didn't make a bowl last year, despite putting up gaudy numbers, Madden-type numbers in the fourth quarter against North Carolina. So I think today is the day you can tell, all right, was last week real or was last week just South Carolina being bad, North Carolina being up for the season opener?
Yeah, I think when you talk about App State, in 2019 they beat North Carolina here.
Yeah.
That team was 13-1.
Yep. And that was a grown man on the field.
And that was a very, very good football team. North Carolina, of course, had a field goal block late that could have tied it, I believe. Last year, App State was a good football team. And Jason mentioned this on Thursday night. They were a good football team that let it all hang out against North Carolina.
Yep.
Put up 40 points.
They felt life going into the fourth quarter.
Yep. And then they beat Texas A&M, of course. And then sort of the wheels fell off because you can't physically match up every week against big-time schools. This year, App State's a little bit different. They're not as experienced. They do have some experience on the offensive line, interior. They've got a quarterback who's a backup quarterback who played well. But to your point,
his name's Joey. He's got to be a star, right?
It's a different last name.
Okay.
He's not related. No relation.
Okay.
But I thought Kamari Morales this week was spot on. He gave everybody their flowers. He said, Kamen Rucker deserves his flowers or whatever, but that's one game, and we're on to the next. And for North Carolina, the we are on to the next is right here in front of them. You can't have a great game and then follow it up with a mediocre game. Carolina's done that several times in the Mac Brown era. And so what we'll have to see today is, can they put it together? Can they put it together in currently nasty commission? Gotta go.
It's one of the things too, and I like that y'all address this on the post game, is that North Carolina is not in a place to where they can lean in to taking anybody lightly, right? One game, this team has proved time and time again that they don't do well stacking days. They don't do well following up a good performance with a better performance or a good performance with another good performance. Tommy, you mentioned Joey Aguiar. I'd be curious about this too. Is there anything to North Carolina being afraid of a potential backup quarterback? Because backup quarterbacks worked this squad last year. And every game we were going into talking about, well, it's a backup quarterback. North Carolina should be able to do X, Y, and Z. Any chance those ghosts are poking around the Kenan Football Center right now?
No, because let's be honest, starting quarterbacks worked North Carolina's defense last year too. I mean, it was just whoever was back there. had that. I think North Carolina's got those issues fixed, but they'll have to do it. You know, App State's going to want to run the ball. Noel, the running back, is good enough to run the ball against North Carolina. Sure. I will say this: if North Carolina's rush defense is as good as it was last weekend, and it forces App to abandon the run early, then we'll see what really happens.
You make them one-dimensional, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me read this. I just saw a tweet. I think it's funny. It's not Carolina related, but it says, according to North Carolina State Athletics, the video board was not struck by lightning. It's currently having trouble because of the panels shorted due to weather. There's no visible smoke. There's no smoke or visible damage.
That sounds like the Iraqi information minister. There's nothing to see here. We have repelled the U.S. forces. We are now actually taking over Saudi Arabia or something like that. I don't know.
We don't mind. We don't mind the folks in West Raleigh, and that weather has made itself this way. But back to the North Carolina game. You've got a situation here where Carolina defense heard it all last year.
Absolutely. And all the offseason.
Yep. And the entire offseason, they played good for one game. And, you know, let's be honest, Spencer Rattler was sacked 9 times, had 16 tackles for loss. He still threw for 350 yards or so. So there's a ton to clean up. I think this defense comes out on fire, and we'll see what happens. I don't know how the weather affects
well,
it.
And who knows? I mean, we're still a good 3 hours from game time. I mean, it could be gorgeous and sunny by the time they go to kick this ball off today.
Absolutely.
Tommy, one of the things I think that was really interesting last week was North Carolina got production on the defensive front from a bunch of different dudes. I think 10 guys took snaps, and when you have 16 tackles for loss, you're going to have a lot of different contributions and a lot of different contributors. Who do you think, off of last week, and I'm going to take Kamen Rucker off the table since I called my shot with him in the pregame last week. I think it's the only time I've ever been right, so I got to mention that. Who do you think today could have that kind of impact on a game? Is it somebody coming off the edge like a Gainer or Des Evans, or do you think it's somebody like a Miles Murphy commanding double teams and just taking up space when App State wants to run the ball?
Yeah, I think we'll see the interior of North Carolina's defense be the one that step up and make plays. Whether it's Miles Murphy, whether it's Travis Shaw getting some run. Everybody loves to talk about Travis. Tamari Fox is a guy I'd watch.
He looked, again, last week, that dude was shedding blocks right and left. I mean, it looked like my kid tearing down a Lego castle. Just shedding blocks right and left.
Yeah, interior defensive linemen, if there's any sort of weather and any sort of issues, those are the ones you got to see.
They love it. Those dudes love it because they're going to get dirty. They're going to get mixed up in stuff. They're going to be slinging bodies around. It's going to be quite entertaining. And I think that's something to watch today. If you're listening to us right now, if you're on the way up to tailgate anywhere in Keene Stadium, or maybe if you're hanging out at your house and trying to stay dry, whatever, I respect all of it. But I do want to go ahead and say, if something you want to look for today is watch the interior defensive line and see how guys like Murphy and Fox and Travis Shaw and Hester and those other guys are able to clog up the middle and command double teams. All right, Tommy, let's lay out the show here. We've got Jeremiah Holloway. If he can get in his canoe, if he can make it from where he's coming to us, he'll be here in the next segment. We got E.J. Wilson coming on top of the second hour. We will talk with Jason Staples right before that. Staples has had some really good analysis on how North Carolina is probably going to match up against this team. So all that stuff's coming up next. We'll have the IC Takeover segment back for you in segment 5. So if you've got questions, you want to hit us up on Twitter at Inside Carolina, at TAshleyIC, at Joey Powell. If you add all of us, we'll try to take your questions, see if we can get you a decent answer. It might be a soggy answer, but we'll see if we can get you a decent answer. But we're going to be here right up until 4 o'clock. We are in the Bowles lot, back up, away from our usual spot, trying to get out of the elements because apparently electronics don't like rain. We are under the parking deck, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on in here. Come check it out. You got the smoke coming from a grill nearby. It's just going to be really awesome stuff.
And shout out to the 160 people that are watching us.
How y'all doing? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We'll be right back after this break. If you're watching us on YouTube, stick around. We're glad you're here. This is Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Shamon Williams, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
If
you're more than someone who just checks the scores, I want to introduce you to the place for Tar Heel sports discussion, analysis, and breaking news. Inside Carolina has been the center of the Tar Heel sporting universe for over 20 years, with a team of the best UNC sports reporters around, unrivaled insight, and a vast message board community for round-the-clock discussion with other Tar Heel fans. Your game day begins and ends with InsideCarolina.com.
Life is full of unexpected moments, and when the lights go out, it's easy to feel powerless. Generator Supercenter of the Triangle has the solution for you.
Our Generac automatic standby generator is reliable for life's unexpected moments. Last year, the power was out for days, but thanks to Generator Supercenter of the Triangle, we didn't skip a beat. Our Generac generator is reliable, efficient, and worth every dime.
Schedule a consultation today at GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Melissa, a happy patient with more.
I was basically his very first patient when he opened up his own practice. He's not just a great orthodontist, he's a great human. I'm not ashamed to smile anymore. I smile everywhere, and everybody all the time says, "Oh, your teeth are beautiful. You have a beautiful smile." I'm like, "Go see Dr. Mac. Go see Dr. Mac." All the time.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at MacOrtho.com.
I'm Jennifer Salemson, president of CIMG Residential Mortgage. At CIMG, we're strongly rooted in this community, and I am particularly proud of the role that women have played in CIMG's growth and success over the past 26 years. Our unique local culture differentiates us from our national competitors. At CIMG, we lend where we live. Visit us at CIMGINC.com.
Hello, friends. This is Mark Pons from Chapel Hill Tire. A clean car is a happy car. That's why we offer expert car wash and detailing service. And with our new mobile car wash app, we will come to your home or office and give you an expert car cleaning while you continue on with your day. It's so easy. Download the Chapel Hill Tire car wash app on Google Play or the Apple App Store to schedule your mobile car wash service. We'll have you driving happy and clean, Chapel Hill.
Hello, Tar Heels. This is Roy Williams. Although we are no longer living in town, when Wanda and I come back, we always stay at the new Sheraton Chapel Hill. The Atma Hotel Group has done wonders with the Sheraton's complete and comfortable transformation and amenities, from convenient parking to very nice guest rooms and the Blue Corners Bistro that serves breakfast and dinner every day. We hope to see you there on one of those special Carolina weekends. And as always, let's go Heels.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly
Inside Carolina Live. Buffalo Springfield bringing you back. Joey Powell, Tommy Ashley, live from the Bowls Lot. You might think that we were not going to do the show today. You might think that we would be in the studio or somewhere else. I say nay, nay. I say that we are indeed in the Bowls Lot. We just happen to be in a parking deck where we were safe from the elements. But we here, we out here, as the kids say. Joining us right now, and I say right now, my man is literally walking up out of the rain, and I am incredibly impressed with him. Jeremiah Holloway. He's been with us for all of, 4 months, Tommy? He joined us right after basketball, and my man got in last week, got to watch UNC play against his old beat.
He looks extremely impressed by the rain.
I'm seriously, my man is hella dedicated, but he's here. Jeremiah, the first thing I want to say, as the kids say nowadays, I want to give you your flowers because you've been with us for just a few months, and I got to be honest, you've been on a couple of podcasts, and you don't sound like a writer. You sound good, and despite whoever's hosting or whoever you got on with you, you seem to be doing all right.
It's all about me, right there.
Tommy, no, not at all.
And see, look, I defer. Yeah, so we're streaming. Joey's trying to clown me. What he's trying to say is Jeremiah has been a wonderful addition to the Inside Carolina.
You talk about my man came from the transfer portal and immediately became a great locker room guy.
Yes,
that's the way we say it.
He produced right out of the gate.
Great locker room guy. Won over all his teammates. teammates and has immediately shown he's willing to put into work. Jeremiah, you've been around the Keenan Football Center this week. The first thing I want to ask, and this is something, obviously I think it was easy to say going into the South Carolina game that this team had like 2 big old Pringles cans of chips on their shoulder, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This week I want to see, do you feel like the team still feels a little bit slighted after last week? Do you still feel like they've got a little bit of that edge, and maybe they heard everybody's little jokes about it's only South Carolina? Do you feel like that's still the case, or am I making something out of nothing?
Well, funny enough, I don't know that the chip is from last week. I think it's from last year. Fair enough. When you give up 61 points to a team that everybody expects you to beat by 20. I think when you talk about last week, they pretty much won doing everything that people didn't expect them to do.
Right.
Everybody had questions about the line. They gave up no sacks. Everyone had questions about the defensive line. They had 9 sacks. So, I think a lot of it is, they're just trying to, as they keep saying in the press conference, I know it's kind of coach speak or whatever, but, stacking on the days and trying to go week by week with it. I think, honestly, North Carolina should want to go into the Pittsburgh week 3-0. That starts with, obviously week 1, and it continues with App State. So this isn't an opponent they can overlook. They haven't, blown out App State ever. They lost in 19 and they won by 2 last year. But I think this year, if they really want to turn that corner, this is a game that they're going to have to win, and I think win convincingly. But just hearing them talk in the press conference, it sounds like they're a little bit more keyed in. They're not as complacent. They're keyed in. I think one of the players said they should be going shutout or something like that, or maybe that was one of our very own as well. But I know that this is a game that they're looking to potentially win by 3 touchdowns.
So listen, I don't mind saying this. Tommy and I got the Heisman from Corey Gaynor last year because, in his words, he didn't feel like he was new to the team, didn't feel like anybody wanted to hear from him, nor did he feel like he had earned the chance to talk to the press. Corey Gaynor out stumping behind the mic twice already this year. Do you think he's just trying to take that leadership role, or do you think it's just one of those things where he might be the mouthpiece for this squad to take maybe some of the distraction away from a guy like Drake, or even with the Tez Walker situation? What's your take on Corey Gaynor actually being vocal now?
Yeah, well, when we first got to talk to him in the spring, he was talking about his role and his duty at UNC is to serve, whether that's on the line or among his team. So that might be one of the ways that, he can kind of do that. He's great to talk to the times that we did get to talk to him.
For sure.
When I was talking to Adam Smith before we talked to him that first time in in fall camp, he was saying that they had only brought him out the one time because, at first he didn't feel he was kind of the voice of a team. It was his first year there. But, being in this, 7th season of college football, being obviously the center, the anchor of the offensive line, I think that might be something he's kind of taken upon himself to kind of be a voice on that team, and even publicly, behind closed doors and publicly as well. So, and it's kind of showing, honestly. It showed that first game, just the way he kind of, helped anchor that line as well.
Jeremiah, let me ask you about another guy who's gotten more and more vocal. We talk about the tight end room. They're stacked. Copenhagen may be dealing with an injury today, but you still got Kamari Morales, Bryson Nesbitt. Morales has been really sure of his comments and he's very thoughtful when he discusses things. But he basically said the South Carolina game is one game and it's in the past. It's time for North Carolina. It was like, it's all well. Kamen gets his flowers and all that. Now North Carolina needs to be better. What have you thought about him stepping up? Everybody, we jumped on the Copenhagen bandwagon quick in the spring and in the fall, but Morales is a guy that his vocal aspect of it has really been strong for this team. Your take on what you heard from him this week?
Yeah, well, I think, he's kind of looking at it like, cool, like you win game 1. They won 9 games last year. There's, if you want to progress and you want to improve as a team, it's got to, again, you got to continue to stack the days. You got to continue to, if you look at that tape from that South Carolina game, it was a convincing win, but there were definitely things that you probably felt like they could have did better. I know we were talking on the podcast a couple days ago that, you could have finished that game a lot better, put them away a lot sooner, and then maybe some drives that, I don't know, maybe you want back, or you would have, did some things differently on those drives. But I think in regards to Kamari Morales, he's another guy that has stepped up kind of as one of the, primary voices. And he's really, every time you cover a team, I feel like there's always 1 or 2 players, even in basketball, there's always 1 one or two players that will like really speak their mind and give you like, you know, the real insight on, you know, kind of how they're thinking and things like that. And I see Kamari Morales, he's probably that guy. You know, we were just talking about Gaynor, but I think he's really the guy, especially on the offensive side, that will really, you know, kind of speak his mind and really kind of give insight onto how they're thinking and what they're thinking about and what, you know, a lot of the things that they're trying to focus on. So when you hear from him, you know, and you hear the honesty kind of coming from him, you can tell that it's a team that kind of sees their flaws early on, which is a lot better than, you know, seeing it later in the season. Yep. But, you know, I think that with someone like him, you know, kind of being one of the voices, you can kind of tell that, okay, this is a team that, like I said, is looking to go 3-0, going into conference play and trying to move forward from there.
Yeah, that's the interesting part with him, and we've talked about it sort of off air here, but he's like, we beat South Carolina, big deal. Right. You know, right. It was a huge deal for us, right? Because the defense showed out. For Kamari, it was like, we beat South Carolina, it's time to move on. Another guy that is I felt like was a little bit different after South Carolina, and I wanted to get your take, is Drake. Sure. People wanted to talk about the 2 interceptions that Drake had. Drake was like, yeah, I made some plays too now.
That's not typical Drake.
Yeah.
Good call.
And he doesn't usually, he usually throws himself on the sword for the team, and I should have done this. I thought that was a little bit different from him. I mean, these guys seem locked in on bigger things than they were last year. Yeah. They were on just surviving every week last year. You got App coming in. They're not gloating over South Carolina. Your take on overall mood that you've seen this entire fall camp, even with Mack, even with Chiswick, even with, you know, I thought Chip Lindsey was a little bit feisty, you know, on Monday. They seem more confident going forward than they have, at least. And I know you're fresh off of covering South Carolina, and somebody in the chat said, what are your South Carolina fans saying to you now? But, you know, your take from coming in this year and seeing their approach, it seems a little bit different from mine.
I think Kamen Rucker probably had the quote of the week. I'm going to paraphrase it, but he said, some weeks social media can be your best friend and other weeks it can be your worst enemy. So I think that they're really kind of living in that almost. I think it's a situation where you sit up there and say, okay, we've heard all the criticism. We heard plenty of praise when we started 9-1 as well, but we heard all the criticism when we didn't finish the season as well as we wanted to if you're North Carolina. So I think that's a lot of where the mindset kind of comes in. It's like, you know, you win one game. You were a game away from a lot of things. You were a game away from a 10-win season. You were a game away from the ACC championship, winning the ACC, and you were a game away from having a bowl win. So I think, you know, when you're starting from scratch, you have those goals kind of set up and set in mind. So anything that's not those goals, you're not going to be satisfied with it. And so I think, you know, as they go across the course of the season, how do we get to those goals? How do we get to that end game, which are, you know, obviously the 3 things I mentioned. Yep. You're not going to be just satisfied with being South Carolina, which is a big win for them, I think. But you're not going to just be satisfied with that, and they shouldn't be satisfied with that, considering what they have on that roster and especially what they showed in that South Carolina game. You know, I think the expectations have honestly risen. I think, you know, I mean, we'll see. But would you have them preseason? Well, remember, I said some of the people that are listening might have remembered. I said 8-4. You know, because I'm like, I'm a skeptic, man. I'm probably a natural skeptic. I got to see. Now I think Tommy had 10-2. 10-2, folks. Yeah, Tommy had 10-2.
That's pessimistic, Tommy, by the way.
Well, yeah.
That was 2 games behind the old Tommy.
Jeremiah, I want to ask you. Tommy mentioned Chip Lindsey a second ago. What is your sense of how the staff is working off of that win last week? You know, you mentioned the players seem to kind of put it behind them. How can the staff take, like you said, there's some things to work on, but also recognizing, okay, y'all actually showed up and did the thing last week, the thing that you've had trouble with in the past. How do you keep, because there's plenty of room for them to get a big head. How's the staff using that to not only praise them, but kind of rein them in and making them focus on a team that put mad numbers up on them in the fourth quarter last year?
Yeah, I'm going to cite just as an example one of the film studies that Jason Staples did this week. It was the play, they had the goal line touchdown. South Carolina had too many men on the field, but even that play, he was kind of citing it. You know, it's just a missed block here, and you know, Hampton might have got tackled for loss instead of scoring. Like just the small things like that. Obviously, the turnovers you want to limit, but I mean, I know you brought up offense. I'll get back to offense in a second, but just to throw it out there, even like defensively, you didn't force any turnovers. You had 2 fourth down stops, but you didn't create turnovers. But I think from an offensive standpoint, I mean, you know, late in that game, whether you want to say the receiver dropped the ball, ran the wrong route, whatever, you still turned the ball ball over, you didn't execute how you wanted to late in that game. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't have finished with 40 points in that game, even with Tez Walker and Nate McCullum being out. Just the way that game played out, they could have ended with 40-plus points. So I just think it's stuff like that. I mean, even, for example, a game like today, looking at App State defense, that's not a great defense, when I look at it. You don't even need last year to necessarily tell you that. But I think this is a game where, again, they should aim to win by 3 touchdowns. They should aim for high scoring, 40-plus points.
Mash them out.
Yeah, exactly.
So Joey asked me before you came on in the first segment who I thought defensively would be that guy today.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets easy to say Kamen Rucker every week. But let's take him off the table a little bit. For you, when you watch this game, from the dryness of the press box, by the way, as we sit in the stands, I'm not hating at all. Who on the defense do you want to see make some plays not named Kamen Rucker?
I'm going to say Marcus Allen, and reason being is because I feel like, I don't remember who I was talking with about this or whatever. It might have even been you, but that was a name that we didn't bring up a lot last week, which is probably a good thing.
Because they didn't throw at him.
Yeah, because they didn't really go at him. So, maybe what's the next step for him? Is it, is he one of the guys that forces that turnover? Is he somebody that kind of picks a pass off? Obviously, he had the 2 big starts last year, or at least had to start in some big games last year. And I'd say first return, probably pretty good. So, I think he's probably a name in the secondary you'd have to bring up. And then otherwise, I would say maybe an Amari Gaynor, somebody that definitely had a big game starting off last week. He had the 2 sacks as well. So, that probably is another name. So I'd probably say up front, Amari Gaynor, and then I'd probably say in the secondary, I'd probably go with Marcus Allen.
I know it's welcome sounds to Tar Heel fans' ears to have a corner that somebody decided and made a choice not to throw at last week.
Yeah.
And then also recognize they had a whole week to get Elijah Huzzy back at corner and work somebody in a jack if they chose to. I don't know if they did or not.
Star.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Jack is on the line. Stars the nickel.
We play jacks. Stars make plays.
Wow. All right. Look at you.
You don't remember jacks?
Look at you.
Do you know what jacks are?
Ball little jacks.
Everybody write that down at home.
This has been your Tommy Ashley old game flashback. All right. Well, Jeremiah, we appreciate it, man. Look forward to reading your gamer and the tag team effort that you and Adam will put up on IC, both before and after the game. Appreciate what you brought to the squad. Hopefully we'll have you on very soon on another show, as long as, hopefully it's not going to be looking like this garbage outside. But appreciate you making time for us and coming by.
Appreciate it.
And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Jason Staples. We'll do a little X's and O's talk, break down some game stuff, talk about UNC's running offense, and talk about UNC stopping the run, which are 2 things you've never been able to say in the same game in forever. So we'll talk with Jason Staples in the next segment. Stick around. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Ryan Switzer, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
Hey, Carolina fans. Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 Defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance, so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
For over 20 years, there's been no better place online for the Tar Heel sports community than Inside Carolina. Exclusive recruiting information, in-depth team analysis, insightful podcasts. There's nowhere else that you'll find the level of daily content about the Tar Heels than InsideCarolina.com. Join the best community for Tar Heel sports around. The Tar Heels are your hometown team, and Inside Carolina is your hometown site for Tar Heel sports.
What's the best part about working in Governor's Village? It's hard to say. Some think it's the generous free parking at the Bold Building. Others rave about the proximity to other locally owned businesses like Gov's Fusion Cantina, Nail Tech, Blue Bamboo, and Tarantini. I'm Cindy Harper Covington, the on-site property manager here at Governor's Village, and I'd love to see your business thrive here too. Become one of the best parts of Governor's Village.
Visit us at boldcre.com.
New Hope Church offers so much more than just Sunday services. Hey, Tar Heels, I'm Adam Bishop, senior pastor here to share about all the ways you can connect in community and make new friends regardless of whatever season you're life in. Maybe you're a new parent. Maybe you've got elementary age students. Maybe you're a college student, a young professional, empty nester. We have multiple ways for you to connect and make friends with people who are in the same season of life. And here's the good news. There are a variety of options to fit whatever your busy schedule may look like. So check out our website, newhopechurch.org, to see all of these group opportunities for you to both make new friends and experience hope. Life is full of unexpected moments, and when the lights go out, it's easy to feel powerless. Generator Supercenter of the Triangle has the solution for you.
Our Generac automatic standby generator is reliable for life's unexpected moments. Last year, the power was out for days, but thanks to Generator Supercenter of the Triangle, we didn't skip a beat. Our Generac generator is reliable, efficient, and worth every dime.
Schedule a consultation today at GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com.
For Dana Wicker Cantrell of Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry and Walston, time with clients is time well spent.
When I'm working with someone, they are the priority. No matter what time of day or what day it is, I'm available to them. My most favorite thing is when a client calls me back. Having someone trust you enough to work with you, there's no greater compliment. My biggest buzz is getting the deal.
For more information, go to DanaCantrellRealty.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Time has come today. Young hearts can go their way.
Inside Carolina Live.
Can't put it on.
Bottom of the first hour. Tommy, I'm dry. You dry?
I'm dry.
All right, we dry.
I'm reading the chat, so sorry for being in your screen if you're on the YouTube chat. Shout out to the 150 plus.
Love it.
Looks like Notre Dame coming out of the run delay hot.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be sad to hear that.
Did you see a replay on the scoreboard or not? I don't think so. What's next, Joey?
We got a guy on the line right now. He is a huge Sean Connery fan, huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. Basically, any 90s action movie, me and this guy are of one mind. Jason Staples, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing just fine.
I knew it. I was waiting for some.
Sounds like he's ready for a game today, Thomas. Staples, look, man, you guys did some amazing breakouts, and I'm going to fan a little bit here, so don't get yourself all out of whack. But I'm going to fan a little bit and how much I appreciated the plays that you chose to break down on Inside Carolina this week. You're absolutely right on a left guard missing an assignment on that 11-on-13 touchdown could have been totally different. But the first thing I want to ask you, with North Carolina playing as well as they did last week, how much of that is North Carolina coming out hot and how much of it is the opponent?
Well, I mean, it's one of the things you learn as this season goes on. I mean, we're going to find out a lot about that the next couple weeks. I have my questions. I've got some doubts about that South Carolina team. I think that's probably maybe a 6-6 team. I think they're going to be battling for bowl eligibility in the SEC. So it's not like, Carolina went and took care of a top 5 or top 10 team, but they still came out hot and still took care of business against a team that has some players.
Jason, when you look at Carolina's performance now, I think one thing that made it impressive is that none of us expected it. I know that they thought they were going to be better on defense. So how does North Carolina stack some performance here on the defensive side? 9-16, a little tough ask for that unit, but how does North Carolina sort of stack a performance today that matches with last week?
Well, some of us did kind of expect a little bit of what happened on that. I thought going into that game that Carolina had a really good chance of that defensive line showing out in the way that they haven't in a very long time. And that was an offensive line that they were going against that I thought they could take advantage of. And I think also it's really easy to underestimate or undervalue how banged up North Carolina was on the defensive line last year, most of the year, and how much that impacted them. I mean, you think about Miles Murphy being hurt early in the year and sucking it up and playing through it, but being clearly impacted. A guy like Ritzie was banged up in camp and never was healthy last season, and those guys came through camp completely healthy this year. You get Des Evans back and healthy. Those are a lot of those factors where I think just that alone was going to probably be something where they were going to be better. But then when you got to see what they were doing in practice in the spring, what they were doing in practice in the fall, and working on that first and second step and attacking off the ball and the fundamentals of really getting after it and getting penetration and getting upfield, there was a lot of reasons to be positive about that. Now, the thing was, is once the lights start flashing and there's people in the stands and all that, do you revert or do you stick with what you've been training on? And the really encouraging thing for Carolina is that they actually did all those things. They actually succeeded in it. So what do you do to stack that? Well, you take encouragement from the fact that, wow, when we did the stuff that we were coached to do all off season and all through camp and all that stuff that we drilled, when we did that stuff, it worked. Maybe we should just keep doing that. And I think that really is what it boils down to is you just stick to your training, you stick to what you've kept doing, and you try to stack on that in practice all week, continue to drill those things, and then get better from there. And I think the fact that they're playing against an offensive line that is replacing 2 offensive tackles from last year is going to help as well. So I think there's a real good chance that they could stack. I don't know that I would expect 9 sacks again. That's not something that's pretty common in today's game. But I do think you can expect another good outing from the defensive front. And when the front plays like that, it makes it a lot easier on the back end.
Jason, we're talking with Jason Staples, analyst for InsideCarolina.com. Jason, is North Carolina now officially a Big Ten power running team?
No, but they are a team that is going to want to run the football. They're a team that one of the things that has been a point of emphasis since even before Chip got hired, but since Chip Lindsey and that whole staff came into running that offense has been, we're going to be a balanced offense and we're going to be a physical offense. Because they felt, Mac Brown felt like that was one of the things that was really missing from them is being a balanced team and being able to run the football when they wanted to run the football and being physical on both sides of the ball, particularly on the offensive and defensive lines. And that's something they felt like they needed to work on from day one when that new staff came in. And that was a point of emphasis in practice. And you could see that in game 1 against South Carolina, where South Carolina is a team that prides itself on being a physical football team. But they got bullied. And I think you could see Carolina, again, the amount of attention that they paid on that was, it did pay off. And so I think you'll continue to see more and more of that, but you're not going to be a, Big Ten West team and just be a power running team when you got Drake May.
Jason, when we're talking about that running game, British Brooks has sort of exerted himself as being the guy for North Carolina. They really, really love Amarion Hampton, and he's a young man that will have a lot of success at North Carolina and may score a ton of touchdowns this year the way they utilize him. But British Brooks is the guy for this offense. Just sort of speak to what you saw from him, his patience. I thought the Wildcat run where he just stood there and waited and waited and waited was pretty impressive from Brooks. Not something we saw much last year from North Carolina's running backs not named British Brooks.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that he brings to the table that is different from the other backs, and it's the reason he's the starter. He is a patient back. He's a guy that he was he was there when Javonte Williams was showing the same traits. And I think he got to learn in the same environment as Javonte and learn from Javonte, watching those guys, watching Javonte and watching Michael Carter, and watching those guys really benefit from their patience and drilling with them and practicing the same stuff. And, being the old head, being the gray beard in the group, that's really what he brings to the table, is somebody who understands how to do all that and understands that sometimes you have to go slow to be fast. And you have to be slow initially so that you can burst through the line. The encouraging thing on that is that he's had those traits. He showed those a couple of years ago, but it wasn't clear how ready he would be in terms of his knee and all of that. And he looked pretty healthy to me. So, that's the real positive moving forward.
Let's spin it to Drake May.
I see what you did there, Tommy.
Yeah,
quarterback joke.
Yeah, exactly. I planned that, Joey. I am impressed by somebody using a blower in the deck to
I don't know if you
rain.
can hear that or not, Staples, but there is a dude legitimately out here with a blower blowing water off of his cornhole playing area. Yeah.
So, the rain has slowed a little bit to a first grade monsoon instead of an all-out monsoon. But talking about Drake May, Jason, 2 interceptions. He wasn't pleased with them. He made the point, and I mentioned it with Jeremiah earlier, he made the point that he made some plays too. What did you see from Drake in game 1? A lot of people expect perfection from the young man. I think that's a reach, but you obviously analyzed and broke down the interceptions. What overall did you think of Drake May in week 1, and how can he improve into week 2?
Well, I thought he looked a lot better in the pocket than he had in previous bad footwork, and there were times where he really wandered into some pressure and just was not consistent with where he needed to be in terms of being in the proper spots and all of that. He did miss some spots though in the passing game. I think he would really like to have that one. That overthrow to Paysor where he put it out of bounds, and Paysor had double moved the defensive back and had a clear, easy touchdown walk-in if Drake just puts a normal throw on him, and he just flat out missed him. There are a couple of those where in this game he just didn't quite hit his spots. On both of those interceptions, he was a little bit off, even though the receivers ultimately were the guys that needed to be responsible for making sure that those were not interceptions. I mean, they've got to come back to the football. They've got to, follow their fundamentals and what you're supposed to do and where the quarterback is expecting you to be. But even if those guys are doing those things, neither of those throws was a dime, right? Neither was perfect. And so that's the thing that they really want to get to, that he wants to get back to. And, I think having the running game and all of that in support of him and having the ability to go play action and all of that is really, really helpful, especially, without a Tez Walker to stretch the field. They're going to need to be that much more balanced in order to be able to push the ball down the field when they want. And, I thought all in all, it was a Drake May performance that was, just typical Drake May. A couple head scratching misses where you don't expect him to miss, a few ridiculous throws, and then, a couple that were okay and ended up being picked that weren't really on him. So, or at least, mostly weren't on him, at least how I would grade it as a coach. There was one that it worked out real well, the one that everybody will remember him going to the left and squeezing it in there with the sidearm. I didn't like that throw as a coach. I wouldn't want him making that one again, but and he took a couple risks I didn't like, but all in all, it was what you're going to get from Drake May, and I thought he played well on the whole.
Staples, I got one more question for you before we let you get out of here. We're talking with Jason Staples here on Inside Carolina Live. What's the difference in the D-line last week versus last season? I understand Ted Monachino brings a lot of experience and new eyes, and I know bringing in a new grad assistant from Maryland was helpful, but help me understand how that team looked so different against South Carolina than any game we saw, probably 2 or 3 performances put together last year.
Well, again, one is that I think some of the key guys were healthy. I mean, I don't think there was a single game last year where you had let's see, Rucker, Evans, Murphy, and Ritzie all healthy. I don't think there was one game where because Ritzie got hurt in camp, and he was already banged up. I think it was an ankle injury in camp, so he was already banged up. And then Murphy got banged up game 2. So number one, just health. But the other thing is they did such a better job playing with low pad levels and then bursting off the ball with that first and second step to get into the pad of the offensive line with leverage. Last year, over and over and over again, you watch those guys, and the first step was beside, and the first step was sometimes even behind them. Like your first step would not gain ground. And that's something that they spent a lot of time on all off season and through fall camp. In the spring as well. When you look at what they did, one of the things that they did is that they would put one of those little hurdles. It's like one of those like 4-inch hurdles or whatever. Anybody who's done anything, plyometrics or that sort of thing has seen those. They put one of those little hurdles in front of the guys. They'd have to line up, and then off the ball, they would burst, and they'd have to make sure that first step cleared that hurdle and got all the way, gained ground by 6 or 8 inches. And they focused on this day after day after day after day of bursting off the ball and gaining ground on that first and second step. And sure enough, that's what we saw. And I think more than anything else, that was the biggest difference, was guys actually getting off the ball and gaining ground with that first and second step and then not stopping their feet on contact. And you've got such good athletes and big, powerful athletes that if they just get that weight moving forward correctly off the ball and then don't stop their feet on contact, they're going to cause problems for an offense. So I think that was the biggest difference, is it's just a simple fundamental thing about their footwork and making sure their pad level stays low so that they can use that leverage and the size that they have.
Jason, we only got a minute and a half left in this segment. I didn't see any patty cake against South Carolina. I mean, that in itself was impressive to me, that how quickly what we saw a lot last year was gone against South Carolina. What's it speak to? Does it speak to the coaching? Does it speak to the technique? Speak to the players figuring it out? Real quick, that improvement.
Yeah, well, first of all, they coached it and they drilled it over and over and over again, and the players embraced it because the players are not happy with how they played last year. And so that combination, the players fully bought into it and actually doing the drills that would fix some of the mistakes that they made fundamentally last year, that's really where that difference came in.
Well, Jason, we appreciate it. We're going to give you a chance now to get to the chopper. Thanks for joining us here on Inside Carolina Live. Look forward to seeing your beautiful face tomorrow morning on the day after with Tommy and Buck Sanders here on Inside Carolina Live. That's Jason Staples. We are still live, still dry, still down here in the Bowles lot under the safety of the parking deck.
And you're the man now, dog.
There we go. Thank you, sir. That's a beautiful, beautiful reference. Jason Staples joining us. Take a quick break. Be right back with hour number 2 of Inside Carolina Live. Starting it off with E.J. Wilson. You saw some good defensive line play from the Tar Heels last week, so we thought, hey, let's bring a former defensive lineman back in with us to hang. We're going to talk with EJ right after this break. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
Hey, it's Trey Boston, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
It's time for the Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. After a tight first half, Carolina ensured their beatdown of the Gamecocks in the third quarter, capped by Drake May on his heels, finding John Copenhaver for a touchdown and a 17-point lead.
3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. One of those receivers is Hampton, the running back, in the slot right side. May claps his hands, immediately looks to his left. Pressure there. May throws off his back feet. Oh, my goodness! Coming back and making the catch is Copenhaver for the touchdown. Copenhaver on his knees with one hand for 6.
That was this week's Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. You can tackle dirt by trying Chapel Hill Tire's new mobile car wash and detailing app for the ultimate Drive of the Game experience. Get your car game ready anytime, anywhere. Download now and enjoy a touchdown-worthy shine. Visit chapelhilltire.com for details.
Hey Carolina fans, Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 Defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
I'm Jennifer Salemson, president of CIMG Residential Mortgage. At CIMG, we're strongly rooted in this community, and I am particularly proud of the role that women have played in CIMG's growth and success over the past 26 years. Our unique local culture differentiates us from our national competitors. At CIMG, we lend where we live. Visit us at CIMGINC.com.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Megan, a happy parent, with more.
Very first time that I walked through these doors, I was absolutely blown away by how professional Dr. Mac was. Dr. Mac is such a great guy that you almost want your kid to have a problem with their teeth just so you can come here and spend time with him. He's a great orthodontist, but he's more than that, a fantastic human being. I love him.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at macortho.com.
Hi, it's Jones Angel, voice of the Tar Heels, and you're listening to your flagship station for Tar Heel sports, 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, Chapel Hill.
Coming to you straight from a Carolina football tailgate party in the heart of the southern part of heaven, from the independent voice of UNC sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Welcome back. It is hour 2 Inside Carolina Live from the Bowles Lot parking deck.
We out here.
We are dry and we are live. Joey Powell, I'm Tommy Ashley. AJ on the wheels. Shout out to all the people that showed up to tailgate here with us. Some cornhole going on, some good food. Took all our swag early.
All our swag first hour of the show, man.
We need like 3 times the amount of swag.
John Siegley out here just throwing swag away, like not even making nobody earn it. Hey, Tommy, what's that bright thing out there in the sky?
I don't see anything bright, but I do see a little bit of light.
I see a little bit of light
at the edge of the rain.
You want to brighten up the show right now?
You got one of your buddies on there, don't you?
I bet AJ Wilson will brighten the show up.
I bet you he will.
Earl, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. How y'all doing today?
Doing all right. Listen, first things first, let's talk about the most important thing we're going to talk about, and that's smoked meats. and EJ, I'm not lying. EJ has absolutely gone headlong into the smoking of meat hobby. And I joke with him all the time, but literally my man is always posting pictures of his meat on social media. EJ, what are we smoking today?
FCC, I apologize.
What are we smoking today, EJ?
So long, CHL.
All right, first of all, I'm gonna make some birria tacos, man.
I love it.
And watch the game later on, so that should be good for me and the wife. But you are out of control. I appreciate the compliments, but you're absolutely out of control.
So I need you to. EJ, I need you to text me that address off the air because we will be there and get some of those tacos.
Look, he lives kind of on the way back to Clayton. If you need to make a stop in, I'm sure he could arrange that.
We eat a lot now.
EJ, listen, I'm going straight to you because not only when I hear this guy speak in press conferences and in media availability, he sounds like you, but y'all also play a similar position and are kind of built the same way. Kamen Rucker absolutely annihilated South Carolina last week to the point that he won multiple Player of the Week awards on a national level. I'm going to give you just an open platform right now to tell me how you feel about Kamen Rucker. Go.
Kamen Ruckus. I think I spent the whole season last year talking about how even though our defense wasn't performing the way that we wanted to, he was one of the biggest highlights. Of course, Cedric Gray and Power Echols at the linebacker position had outstanding seasons last year. But for a position that I think overall didn't really perform how they wanted to, Mr. Ruckus was definitely a standout. And I think what he's doing this year is more of the same. I think the difference is that he has a better supporting cast around him. I mean, we're really seeing the potential of what we really thought we could have from that defensive line and defense as a whole. We're really seeing that this year, and I think he's really been a leader on that. I mean, you see him play the run with the type of pad level he has, how valid his hands are. I really do see a lot of myself in that, but I think he's doing it at a higher level than I was. But I'm really impressed by what I'm seeing from him and the defensive line as a whole. And just the team as a whole, I mean, they really played with a lot of spirit. They played with a lot of effort. They played with everything that you wanted to see. I mean, last week we almost had as many sacks as we had all of last season. So, I think it's going to be a great season for those guys. And I can really see Kamen getting really all the postseason accolades, and I think he'll be in the running for some All-American honors if he can continue this consistent level of play. I kind of got tongue-tied.
So as a guy who played defensive line, give me your fan thoughts from last week. You're watching not only guys absolutely wreck shop against the South Carolina offensive line, but they had Spencer Rattler running for his life. And I don't think statistically North Carolina has not done that since 2000. But I don't think we've seen that sort of defensive line pressure since you were playing in the Bush Davis years. So how did you see that? Just as a fan, combined with a guy that played defensive line, for North Carolina, what were your feelings as you're sitting there watching that, and you're on your couch looking at it happen?
Oh, I was texting and calling everybody and telling them that I think we have the best defense in the ACC. I mean, it really was that exciting to see. I mean, it was more so than just the sacks. It was the type of coverage that we played. I mean, to only give up -2 rushing yards, and I know the sacks are attributed to that, but still, I mean, that's still an impressive outing for a team who's playing in a premier conference as well, and who's played us very tough over the last few years. And I think we played them in the bowl game. They beat us, so I mean, it was really good to kind of bounce back, but that defense was really, really impressive. And I mean, and I want to talk a little bit about the freshman, Bo Atkinson, man. That kid is going to be a player, and I think he's going to be really special. And you just look at the talent that we have overall on that defense. It's a lot different than when Coach Brown and his staff came in town. So I think we're really this year going to start to see the fruits of the labor that the coaching staff have been putting in, that the team's been putting in, and we're really starting to see some of the development of these players. So it's encouraging to see what they're going to do for the rest of the season.
EJ, and we're talking with EJ Wilson, former North Carolina defensive lineman. EJ, when you watch this team play on Saturday against South Carolina, I want to look back just a little bit. Could you believe the difference that an offseason made for this unit after watching them last year? And what do you attribute that to? Do you attribute it to the players finally saying we're not going to take it anymore? Do you attribute it to the coaching staff, the analysts, everything they worked in the offseason? Where do you sort of draw the line or sort of weigh it out, player improvement versus improved coaching aspect of it?
I think it's the perfect storm, and this is exactly what happened to us. I think between the 2008 and 2009 season, like we showed potential. We had a lot of talent on that team. I mean, Marvin Austin, Robert Quinn, Quentin Copel, Cam Thomas, Al Mullins, Patrick Powell. Like that was a loaded defensive line. And we had a decent season in 08 compared to what we've done before. But in 2009, for most of the season, we were the top against the run. So I'm not surprised. What they're kind of doing is taking the progression that I've seen. And so it's a combination of the guys saying, okay, we're not going to take this anymore. We know that we have the talent to do this, so we're going to believe in what the coaches are saying, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable. And you can tell by the way that they're playing that there's leadership. And another thing with the coaching, they've been with these coaches for a while. So, yes, we're starting to see the development in the players. So you have to attribute to that because that leadership trickles down. So I'm just impressed by what I see. And I'm not surprised by it, but I am very, very happy about it.
When you look at the improvement, you mentioned the coaching and they've been with them for a little while. How important is it for continuity for players? I mean, we talk about, if your assistant coaches move on to bigger and better things, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But to have continuity with coaches, be it Tim Cross, Gene Chizik in his second year, how big a deal is that, especially in the college game, getting those guys up to speed and getting those guys all on the same page?
The consistency is very important because that's the difference between every spring or every season you're doing an install of a new offense or defense versus just refining those things versus finding what players are really good and creating packages for players. Like that's when you really see that. To see some of that this year in Coach Chizik's defense, and especially with the position coaches, you know how he trains, what he expects from you, the type of drills you're going to be doing, what you're focusing on. That's going to carry over to the offseason. That's going to carry on to the drills that you can do when you can't spend time with the coaches. So I think that's very important to have. And it's important because with the freshmen coming in the summer, the coaches don't really have that much time with them. So it's really the upperclassmen job to get them ready for what they expect during training camp, during the season, because the faster they can hit the ground running, the better it is overall for the team. So continuity and coordinators, position coaches is very important.
So let me ask you the last question before I kick it back to Joey to talk about smoked meat. Confidence.
Hater.
Players' confidence. How big is it?
It's huge. I mean, you can see it the way these guys are playing, man. I mean, it was enough confidence that fired them up, but they still played discipline. They played control. You didn't see all of the penalties that we've been seeing, and I think that's the most impressive thing of all. Yes, we had a lot of sacks. We kept them to -2 rushing yards, but the lack of penalties was what really impressed me. Like that really shows that they're taking ownership of what they did, and what Coach Brown has been preaching is really starting to stick.
Last question for E.J. Wilson. E.J., I know you've got a lot of things to do in the kitchen and on the grill later today. Listen, I don't think it happened a lot when you were in school, but I want to ask, what are the odds of taking a G5 program lightly? And that's not to say that's not a knock against Appalachian State in any way, shape, or form. But there have been times in the past where North Carolina would come out and sleepwalk, and this team has not earned the right to do that in any way, shape, or form. How do coaches prepare their team to not take a game like this lightly? Is it just as simple as pointing to the fourth quarter last year against Appalachian State? Is there some special tactics they can use in position drills during the week? Is it just as simple as challenging guys' manhood? What sorts of things can a coaching staff do to keep you from getting a big head from last week and taking this Appalachian State team lightly today?
You have to approach them with the motivation that they have to own the state. Like, it doesn't matter what school you're playing. It could be we're playing Campbell later on down the road. Like, you have to own. We need to be the best in the premier program in the state of North Carolina. That's where it starts. I mean, before we can start talking about the national level or start talking about all the playoffs and all these things, we need to own the state of North Carolina. We proved that we can win the ACC by a couple trips, and the trip last year that we made to the agency championship game. But we need to own the state. We need to the big time programs are built because all the best players in the state are going to the main or this one program. So that's what we need to do to continue the success that we started to see over the last few years. So that's the motivation. I mean, yeah, App State, they may not be at the level that we are in normal competition, but that should be no reason to let our foot up. This should be a game where we go out here and have fun, and the starters' motivation should be, let's go out here and get this game ahead for some of these young guys who didn't think they played this early in the season. Let's see what they have so we can really start to see how deep the roster is.
I wanted to ask, you guys were talking about tailgating, smoking meat and all that. What's the go-to? Like, and how do we get some of that in the Bowls lot, EJ? I was giving you all a hard time earlier, but, I mean, there's plenty of room out here.
I could go for some tri-tip right now.
Yeah,
just saying.
So your ideal tailgate, let me ask you that. Your ideal tailgate, you're out here in the Bowls lot with us later in the year. What's on the menu that EJ and his crowd are bringing to the Inside Carolina Live show?
Pork shoulder for pulled pork and probably some brisket chili, man. I make a really good brisket chili.
That's next level.
All right, so how long do you need to be out here? We'll make sure it happens.
We need to talk and set something up, man, so I can come out there, man. I don't know what game I'm going to be able to make it out to this year, but probably sometime in October, so let's talk about it.
All right, EJ, we appreciate it, man. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with our IC Takeover segment. We were just joined by just an ambler, walking, looking for a home in the deck here. Trey Edge is going to join us right after this break. EJ, thanks for joining us, man. We'll talk to you sometime very soon. This is Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is George Lynch, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live at 97.9 The Hill.
This is Hubert Davis, head coach of the Tar Heels. The new Sheridan, Chapel Hill, has been completely renovated with all the amenities you need to fully enjoy your time here. So don't forget to make reservations for you, your family, and friends at the new Sheridan, Chapel Hill, where so many Tar Heel alumni and fans stay for home games and other special visits. Go to SheridanChapelHill.com for our home games and your other reasons to be in Chapel Hill. Thank you, and go Heels.
Yeah, baby, yeah! Drowning in those shagadelic investment choices, are we? Fear not! With John Stillman at Rosewood Wealth Management by your side, you'll be smashing those numbers and living the mojo-rich life in no time. Don't be a rascal with your moolah. Make it behave, baby.
Austin Powers is not a real person and was not compensated for this endorsement. However, Carolina Wealth Stewards, doing business as Rosewood Wealth Management, is a real registered investment advisor with the state of North Carolina.
Oh, behave.
Keith Green, an agent for Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry & Walston, uses his background in education in the buying and selling of real estate.
I thought as an extension in terms of me serving people, educating people, and mentoring people on home buying. I'm a certified real estate instructor. While I thought I was leaving education, I'm actually incorporating that process. I'm a hands-on type of agent. It's an extension of service, and I want to see people achieve their dreams, and that's why I do what I do.
To learn more, go to KeithEGreen.com.
New Hope Church offers so much more than just Sunday services. Hey Tar Heels, I'm Adam Bishop, senior pastor here to share about all the ways you can connect in community and make new friends regardless of whatever season you're life in. Maybe you're a new parent. Maybe you've got elementary age students. Maybe you're a college student, a young professional, empty nester. We have multiple ways for you to connect and make friends with people who are in the same season of life. And here's the good news. There are a variety of options to fit whatever your busy schedule may look like. So check out our website, newhopechurch.org, to see all of these group opportunities for you to both make new friends and experience hope.
At Oma's Jewelers in Eastgate Crossing, Jack and Ely are in the business of bringing joy to people's lives. Some words from Lori Doherty, a loyal customer.
The settings in my ring were compromised and the diamond had actually fallen out. I decided to take it to Oma's, and Ely and Jack were amazing. And there was no question in their mind that they would be able to save my ring, and not only save it, but make it better than it was.
Visit Oma's Jewelers in Eastgate Shopping Center or online at omasjewelers.com.
With our strong workforce and commitment to education, major employers like Wolf Speed and VinFast are choosing the Triangle area to expand.
The numbers don't lie. All this growth means your business is likely to grow too. If you have maxed out on your physical space or are looking to expand, rely on us, your local commercial real estate team.
We are
Cindy,
Lou,
and Shayla too, with full
Bold Commercial Real Estate. We will help you
buy, sell,
and lease bold. Connect with us at boldcre.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
If you want to live, treat me good.
A little Peter Tosh for you, bringing you back here on Inside Carolina Live. Stepping Razor. Trey Edge with us. Trey, how you feel about Peter Tosh?
You know, it was a bit of you caught me off guard with that one. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, look, man, you jump into...
It's a positive reaction for me, but not what I expected.
Jumping through the Terror Dome, you got to be ready for anything. And listen, I'm going to go ahead and say this now before we get to talking to Trey. The rain has stopped. The sun is trying to make an appearance here in the Bowls lot. So if you're listening to this and we're on the fence about coming to this game, come on now. Matter of fact, I'll say this to Radio Land. If you had not planned on coming and you want 2 tickets, hit me up. At Joey_Powell on Twitter. I will transfer them to you. You can come enjoy the game. Gratis. Just make sure you're a UNC fan. Put your butts in the seats because Appalachian State travels.
Do you sit with Joey, though?
No, you ain't got to sit with me. That's even better. That's the best part about it. So I was talking to Trey during the break just now. App won the last time they were here. So why would they not travel?
Yeah.
But this is the IC Takeover segment. We got Trey Edge. Trey is actually a radio genius because he does a bunch of stuff for Fayetteville Terry Sanford back in back home crib, but also has a podcast of his own, The Edge of It All, where he recently interviewed Flavor Flav.
We were talking about it off the air. I was a little jealous, man.
I mean, look, I just want to know where Trey's big clock is.
I know.
Well, I debated putting one on to do the interview, and I didn't know because it could have gone one of two ways.
I mean, that's his gimmick, man.
Yeah, he could have laughed and gotten some. He also could have looked at me in that clock and go, "Look, that's my thing." What was funny about that? I forgot that back in the day, I asked him why they started wearing the big clock. They used to wear stopwatches around their neck as jewelry. I don't remember that.
Never on a
somebody
stopwatch.
one day looked at him before he was going on stage and said, "Don't do the stopwatch tonight. Wear this big clock."
Yep.
And that's how the whole thing got started.
Hey, you know what time it is, right?
Yeah, literally.
So listen, Trey's joined us. Trey was here under. Were you just before Mac's first?
No, I was with Mac.
Okay, so
Trey you were in the bloodbath of Mac's.
The 1 in 10 years.
Bad Mac.
Yes.
Has anybody blamed you for that?
Fortunately, I wasn't playing enough for them to blame.
Okay,
me.
good.
I was in the locker room.
That's a good way to avoid the shrapnel. Trey, I want to ask you, after seeing this team play last week, we've mentioned it a little bit on the show here, but North Carolina you can knock South Carolina for being, having a bad year. Maybe they don't have the talent. Maybe they're struggling. I don't know. But what I can say is that North Carolina has not done that against tall grass in a long time.
Correct.
Much less another opponent or an SEC opponent. How do you take away from that one game? And do you have to wait until to see how today goes before you make a verdict?
Yeah.
Or can you just say, hey, they look better?
No, I don't think there's any denying they look better. And I think part of when I was leaving the game and talking to people last week, there was this common refrain, and it's maybe this habit of us beating ourselves up
for sure
every year. Was our defense that good, or was South Carolina's offensive line that bad? And I get where that's coming from, but I don't really care who you're playing. 9 sacks is 9 sacks.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
That's hard to do against a scout team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially if you look at what we've done in the past years, what I was thoroughly impressed with, and especially there in person, there was a different look.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about formation.
Just attitude.
Absolute different energy. Something was different from the sideline to the field. And a lot of times, you guys have been around football, you know.
Yep.
A lot of times that translates to wins.
Yep.
If you're playing as one, if you believe in each other, it's easy to say you do that each and every year.
Yeah.
Carolina last year would say they did that.
Yeah.
We all knew there was something disjointed about last year. That last week, last Saturday night, there was something that felt like a team on a common mission and a common goal We know what we're going to get out of Drake May.
Yep.
I think we know what we're going to get out of some of the skill players. But when you look at that defense and what Rucker did, what Gaynor did.
That was a man's game he played.
What Bo Atkinson did.
Yeah.
It wasn't one guy. It was a whole host of guys.
Yep.
And I kept saying to people this week, look, give me whatever you want in terms of excuses. You're still beating an SEC team up front that has recruited well and beaten you, what was it, 4 out of the last 5 you played them?
Absolutely.
I don't care who it is.
And very, very, very often they were not close the last couple times we played them. So.
Especially physically.
Right.
That's the thing.
And that's the thing watching the game, and I asked Staples about it, I asked E.J. Wilson earlier about it, is the confidence level that you saw from North Carolina on the defensive side, because so many times last year, it looked like, here we go again.
Yeah.
and it started, quite frankly, in week 1 against Florida Atlantic or FAMU, and then against App State. We know what happened. From your perspective of playing, being around football, especially high school football a lot lately, speak to the level of importance that confidence has for these guys. To see the work that they put in actually pay off.
You can't really quantify it.
Yep.
It is the difference between, quite frankly, a successful team and an average team.
Yep.
When you feed off of it, it doesn't have to be your individual success. It's the guy lining up next to you. When you see him beat his man, when you see a Lampkin who's undersized at guard mauling somebody
10 yards up the field,
down the field, everybody feeds off that.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's confidence. But, Tommy, I mean, you've been there. You know it's an uplifting of an entire sideline. And when everyone's confident in what they're doing, the level of play automatically goes up. And you mentioned high school. It doesn't matter what level of football that is.
Yeah.
The confidence in doing your job and being, you know, you talk about not being that weak link in the chain. You're one of 11 guys on the team at that one time. It's an overall confidence. And look, I've come to a lot of practices over the last few years. And I'm that Carolina optimist that I'm always going to leave practice and think.
You and Tommy are separated birth, right?
Yeah, I leave practice thinking, man, we can beat anybody. And then, you know, reality hits and you can't do it. What struck me when I came up here 2 weeks ago was exactly that. It wasn't this boisterous, jump around, dancing confidence or kind of faux confidence. It was a quiet, workman-like confidence that I think translated to Saturday night.
Business.
Yeah. They were taking care. Look, this team's on a mission. And now you throw in Tez being ineligible, and you've got that intangible back here where we're playing for somebody and something bigger than ourselves. It is all set up for Carolina to do something special this year. Now, we say that every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
in this very spot.
Yeah, we're Charlie Brown and Lucy pulls the football.
That's Buck's favorite analogy. He's not going to try to kick it again.
But come feel it, get to the game today, come next week. There is a different feel about this program right now.
So you obviously know a lot about the game on every level. Drake May's performance last week. I said this, there are two people on this team that have to feel immense pressure. One is a coach, Chip Lindsey, not to screw it up, for lack of a better way of putting it. And then Drake May, the hype and all that. What did you see from Drake against South Carolina? And, I mean, I know it's his nature just to be that guy. But you still got to go out and do it. Talk a little bit about what you saw for him against South Carolina with the entire weight of this program on his shoulders, it felt like.
Well, first of all, I don't think anyone has handled that amount of pressure as well as that guy has.
Yep.
For somebody that the national spotlight is on, you would never know it to be around him and to watch him. What I loved about last week, Tommy, was, you know what? He didn't have to be everything. You know, he didn't have to go 35 of 40 for 450 and 5 touchdowns. The stamp of Chip Lindsey was, we're going to run the football. Even if it takes us a while to be successful, you're going to have to honor the fact that we're going to do it.
Yep.
We're going to go heavy unbalanced and show you a different look and run it down your throat. So for Drake, I think that philosophy actually takes a little bit of the pressure off of him.
It's the first time he's been able to do that.
Yeah, he can play ball.
Yeah.
He can be a quarterback. He can read and play action. It's not dropping back 50 times a game. Now, it's great to know that he can do that.
But he doesn't have to do it.
He doesn't have to.
Yep.
And that makes us a better team. We shouldn't have to have our quarterback carry the team.
Yeah.
He can, but having that kind of offense that we saw last week, and again, it's got to translate every single week.
Yep.
But if last week was an indicator, it allows Drake to be a true college quarterback that operates in an offense that fits him.
Yeah.
You got to do it once before you can do it every week.
Absolutely.
And North Carolina did it once last week, which I think is a great, to your point, it's a great start.
And I think today is a very good measuring stick of where we go with this offense.
Yep.
You know, when you look it out, we should be able to score points today.
Yes.
How are we going to score them?
Well, and is it, and to your point, is it a more do they continue the balance that Chip Lindsey tried to instill last week? I asked Staples about it earlier. Is North Carolina now a power running team? Because what I saw against South Carolina, which you would think, regardless of where they fall this year, South Carolina should have a better defensive line than App State does.
Absolutely.
At least from a physical standpoint.
Absolutely.
So North Carolina should be able to kind of instill what they want to do today and kind of force their will running the ball again today. Now, will they do it? To your point, that's the question mark. If they do it today, then now maybe we got something we're cooking with here.
I do think Lindsey is committed to running the football. In what formations and in what way he does that. And we all, last year, as much as we love Drake, our inability to run the football,
to line up and run the football,
wore them out,
destroyed our offense because everybody knew what was coming, and it took Drake doing Superman things to make that offense go. We don't have to line up unbalanced and a 230-pound back to be successful. There will come a point where an Elijah Green or a Petaway or someone else is going to have to be elusive enough in space to make things happen, because we are going to face those defenses that can line up and stonewall our offensive line. It's just a fact. That will happen. But if you have the threat, not to break a 20-yarder, but to break a 4-yarder, then the defense has to be honest.
Well, it forces them to get that extra guy out of the box. Something I loved that Chip Lindsey put on tape last week was that Wildcat formation.
Right.
And here's the thing. Yes, it got the first down. Shout out to British Brooks' patience for getting that first down. But the beauty in running that formation now is it's on tape for every single defensive coordinator for the rest of the year. And when you watch that, there was 3 or 4 options they could have done out of that set. It could have gone, he could have tossed it. It could have gone to Hampton. If he wanted to, they could have motioned somebody and thrown the ball. And so what Chip Lindsey did with that single play, not only did he get a first down and move the ball, he's now put something on tape that North Carolina has not put on tape in quite some time. And that's not disrespect to Phil Longo. That's just saying this is a new coordinator with a new playbook. And now all of a sudden, okay, we put this out on the field, you've got to prep for it.
Yeah, one of my favorite plays from last week is when Carolina lined up on goal line and South Carolina literally ran 2 more guys on out there.
And still couldn't stop it.
And still didn't stop it.
Yep.
And when was the last time we ever saw North Carolina
had a missed block in that play too and still got to the goal.
And when's the last time we saw Carolina put 3 tight ends on the field at the same time? Now, we might have put
13 personnel is very sexy.
We might have put 3 tight ends out there, as a true blocking tight end.
Right.
But when you put Nesbitt, Morales, and Copenhagen on the field
in a pattern,
at the same time,
in a pattern,
that's freaky stuff that not a lot of people can do. And what that tells me is Lindsey is looking at this offense and sees the strength in what he has. We were willing to go unbalanced in jumbo package and Wildcat. Put 3 tight ends out there because, again, you're missing your one big deep threat.
And he's confident in it.
Right. We have maybe the best tight end room in the country.
Yes.
And he wasn't afraid
to use them,
to put them out there.
I love, like you said, you can put 3 tights out there, if you're going jumbo, but he put 3 out there, and you've got a chance to put them in a pattern and actually force a defensive coordinator to scheme for it and potentially have to make some sort of, whether it's a linebacker covering in space or whether it's a nickelback having to come up and play against a body that he's given up 60 pounds on. Either one of those things work in North Carolina's favor.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that he's willing to lean into that this early in the season. I think you might see. I'm not an advocate for playing all your cards early. I would love for them to be able to beat Appalachian being very vanilla. But by the same token, if he decides he wants to throw a wrinkle out there just to make people think, like a Pittsburgh coming up in 2 weeks, if he wants to put that out there just to make Pittsburgh think about some things, go with it.
Well, that's the thing, and you know this. You put stuff out there, they have to spend time on defending it in practice.
Yes.
And you only get so many times
out of it, too.
Yeah, and you only get so much time in practice to prepare for North Carolina. So let me ask you this, Trey. We're talking with Trey Edge, former North Carolina player, a true Carolina family for sure. What's success look like today for Carolina?
It's interesting you say that. I was thinking about that on the drive up here, because if we win 30 to 20, just make up whatever score you want to in your mind. Let's say we win by 10 to 13 points. I'll be happy.
Yep.
Trust me, I'll be happy.
Will anybody in the Keenan Football Center be happy?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think what this team is going to measure today by mistakes they made last week. You're going to look at defensive penalties and things like that. Deep getting beat down the field. I think personally this is a 3-touchdown game for Carolina if we show up and play ball. It's easy to say as a fan,
right.
But if we play like we played last week and impose our physical will on this team, and what I am thrilled, I am so excited to watch today. Does that pass rush translate to week 2?
Yeah, does it?
Now that people have seen it, I want to see, is this going to be the Carolina team of 2023 that is known for getting after the quarterback? You're not going to get 9 sacks every game, but you can harass a quarterback. Being a success to me.
A hurry counts.
Yeah, at this point for me, Tommy, a win is a success for me.
That's number one.
But I don't think this program today, they'll say the right things. Yeah, we won. We're happy to be 2-0 on to Minnesota. They want domination today.
Yep.
They don't want Appalachian coming in here 2 years ago winning this game. Last year, 63-61. This is a day to put your foot on somebody who's an in-state rival and say, no. This is a different day. This is a different Carolina team. And 2023 is a different brand of Carolina football.
Tommy, is Trey trying to get me to run through a plate glass window?
Yeah, really. I mean, you're going to plow through the parking lot there?
I mean, I'm getting ready to strap up a sled.
Let's go, baby.
And
I'm ready to roll. Listen, you should have been there. I don't know if you guys were at the game in person last week. I wasn't angry, but by the time I got to my seats, I had heard so much chirping.
Oh, God.
In my ear.
Alabama mouths with a Vanderbilt trophy case.
Unbelievable. And even after the game, I still had people walking by me going, frauds, and you just had to bite your lip and just continue on. So today, in the confines of Keenan, the rain has stopped. You mentioned people getting to the game. Today is a day to make a statement.
Yep.
Make a statement.
Well, I tell you something that would make a statement is if somebody rolled into town right now and ran by Johnny T-shirt, they could get them some gear. I'm telling you right now, roll by Johnny T-shirt, get yourself some gear. You can come up here looking as nice as only you can look. And you could have all these people pulling full Ric Flair and saying, what's causing all this?
There you go.
With some good new gear from Johnny T-shirt. Hey, Appalachian State fans, we know you root for North Carolina during basketball season. Stop by Johnny T-shirt. Stop by Johnny T-shirt.
There's a pile of them over there, too.
Stop by Johnny T-shirt, get you some gear for basketball season before you head back up the mountain. You'll be glad you did. You won't get that Inside Carolina premium discount that you can get on the message boards right now. But if you go by, you can get the amazing Johnny T-shirt service. You can get the just absolutely uncomparable selection that Inside Carolina fans and subscribers enjoy at Johnny T-shirt. So we want to make sure you look good when you roll into Keenan or roll back to Boone later today. Go by Johnny T-shirt, East Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. You still got time. The weather is now nice. I want no excuses. None. Zero. JohnnyT-shirt.com. We appreciate them. They sponsor all of Inside Carolina's content, and we're glad they did. Trey, appreciate you stopping by, man. Get loud today.
Don't worry about that.
We'll holler at you sometime later in the season, I'm sure, but appreciate you making it.
Yeah, next time you walk by, we're putting a headset on you, brother.
Absolutely. Just so you know. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back here on Inside Carolina Live. We're going to break down the keys to the game. We got one more segment. We'll hand it over to the guys over at Tar Heel Radio Network at 4. For Tommy Ashley, Trey Edge is here. I'm Joey Powell. We'll be right back from the Bowles lot in Chapel Hill, Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Landon Turner, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill.
Life is full of unexpected moments, and when the lights go out, it's easy to feel powerless. Generator Supercenter of the Triangle has the solution for you.
Our Generac automatic standby generator is reliable for life's unexpected moments. Last year, the power was out for days, but thanks to Generator Supercenter of the Triangle, we didn't skip a beat. Our Generac generator is reliable, efficient, and worth every dime.
Schedule a consultation today at GeneratorSupercenterOfTheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterOfTheTriangle.com.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Clint. And I'm Jeremy with CIMG Residential Mortgage. We are so proud to lead a team that has loaned over $9 billion since 1997.
26 years of investing in you gives us great pride in our local housing market.
Please visit us at CIMGINC.com to answer all of your home purchase and refinance questions. At CIMG, we lend where we live. Visit us at CIMGINC.com.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile. With confidence, here's Mark, the happy parent, with more.
When I came in, first thing I noticed, everybody was really nice. There was just, everybody smiled. It was a real smile, and I liked the environment. He had a great personality, and he actually talked to everybody. When you need braces, it prevents you to smile the way you want to. But he's smiling all the time now. Teachers are talking about it. He's always smiling.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at MacOrtho.com.
If you're more than someone who just checks the scores, I want to introduce you to the place for Tar Heel sports discussion, analysis, and breaking news. Inside Carolina has been the center of the Tar Heel sporting universe for over 20 years, with a team of the best UNC sports reporters around, unrivaled insight, and a vast message board community for round-the-clock discussion with other Tar Heel fans. Your game day begins and ends with InsideCarolina.com.
Confused by your finances you are. Guidance you seek. A path to financial wisdom I offer. Prepared for the future you must be. Choose John Stillman at Rosewood Wealth Management. You should. Secure your wealth, you will. To the future, look forward.
Yoda is not real and therefore not compensated for this endorsement. However, Carolina Wealth Stewards doing business as Rosewood Wealth Management is a real registered investment advisor with the state of North Carolina. May prosperity be with you.
Hey Carolina fans, Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 Defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Welcome in, Joey Powell. Get some refreshments. Last segment. You know, if you see us in the studio, you don't get the full Joey Powell effect if you're on the YouTube stream here. If you're listening on the radio, be glad you're listening on the radio.
Bear got to dance, bro.
The dancing panda. Okay, we're getting food here. I remember
and roll through with some Filipino barbecue.
I remember last year somebody said
stop the show?
You're not allowed to eat on air.
My God.
We're about to eat on air.
We getting ready to break all the rules.
It is.
Look at that.
That's ridiculous.
I don't need. Look, I've never been to the Philippines, but I know barbecue, and that is amazing. Tommy, if you dump that out while trying to show the YouTube audience,
shout out to the YouTube audience, to almost 200 people. Look, get yourself in the Bowes lot. Come get an Inside Carolina football. You got the old Inside Carolina hat there on display. You got some lip balm.
Can we use
lip balm
to use the term now? Can we give some flowers to John Sigley for our beautiful setup today?
Yeah, John Sigley.
John's trying to make us look presentable.
I tried to give
that might be the most amazing mullet I've ever seen in my life.
There are App State people in the stands. Whew. There are App State warning.
Business
App State
in the front,
people.
Party in the rear.
Hey, I would grow a mullet tomorrow if I were able.
Well, God has blessed you with many things, but that's not one of them.
Hair is not one of them.
Abs is one of them, but you ain't got the flow.
So what do we got? 2.5 hours till kick.
Yeah.
Is it 2.5?
Yeah, we're 2.
No, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're gonna hand it over to Tar Heel Radio Network here at 4. Do you got another segment in you before we can land the plane?
I kind of want another guest. I wish we'll get AJ in here on the mic. AJ, get in, man.
God, we're bringing me in on this?
AJ's in.
We've reached the bottom. We've reached the bottom of the barrel.
You know
I'm sorry. Hey, AJ.
Hey, what's up? I'm right here.
Folks, you cannot see AJ. He's got his tank top.
He's going full McAfee today. I mean, just literally out here. He's got a serious dirt squirrel on, and he's wearing a tank. Like he literally looks.
Dirt squirrel.
He looks like Matt McAfee. Like it's the bootleg edition. Tommy, you asked Trey a question, and I love the way you always sneak it in somehow. But you always ask, success today for North Carolina looks like blank.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to throw it right back at your head. Success today for North Carolina on offense looks like blank. Like give me a point total. You know, give me something to where folks that are listening or watching can say, oh, I can see that, and I can measure against that.
A clean football game. And by clean, I mean no penalties or very few penalties. I don't mind penalties of aggression, right? Playing past the whistle a little bit or whatever, but no junk penalties, no turnovers. And Joey Powell, I mean,
there's a beam there. I was trying to help that little girl out, and there's a beam.
Thank goodness that Joey Powell does not play quarterback. He's going to give it back to you because it was such a bad throw. Thank goodness Joey Powell does not play quarterback for North Carolina.
Look, they got me for looks. They don't got me for talent.
Okay, y'all make the judge of that. Clean game penalty-wise, clean game turnover-wise, and 35-plus points.
One of the things that I think, and you saw it real quick, when J.J. Jones jumped off sides or made that false start last week while he was split out wide for North Carolina,
hammered.
Mac gave him the hook real quick.
Yes.
And so I think that might be something where you talk about a really deep wide receiver room of guys that have not played a lot of snaps. You go jumping early on a play like that, especially a play of consequence, you might get Wally pipped.
Yeah, when you are competing for playing time in a crowded room, you cannot make mistakes. And I think JJ saw that. And I have no problem with that from the coaching staff. In fact, I think that's some of the things that we haven't seen, or I don't want to talk about basketball, but I think that's some of the things we saw from basketball for the last couple of years.
That frustrated the fan base.
Yeah, is like there's no repercussions for actions. And I think what we saw last week when JJ did that, he disappeared.
Yep, he sat for a good bit.
You know, Gavo Blackwell, to his credit, he dropped a couple passes. Drake gave him another chance. He made a play.
How much you love your quarterback going back to a guy in a situation like that where he had gagged it twice, and Drake went back to him, and good on him for making a play.
Absolutely. But to our point just previously, he's lucky he got that last opportunity, and it helps that guys were out injured, but you have to produce when you're asked to come in. I remember when we talked to Gio Bernard last week, I asked Gio, what's it like to have to get in a game cold and make a play? And Gio said he never ascribed to the theory of having to lather up.
Well, and that was his comment. Is like, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Exactly. So you come in hot, ready to make a play. So I think for North Carolina on offense, whether it's a running back not named British or Omarion, whether it's a receiver not named JJ or Blackwell or Kobe Paysour, is to step up and make a play when you get an opportunity, but just be clean in the offense. Defensively, we can talk about that in a minute, but I think for North Carolina, 35-plus points and a clean football game, penalty and turnover-wise.
I think what's maddening is when you have a situation where you get a false start and it's not even the offensive line. Yeah. Right? Usually, if you've got a skill position player getting a false start, it's because the play was called for him and he's too antsy to get out there into the pattern.
Yeah, just watch the ball.
Just watch the ball, bro. You've got the easiest job of anybody there when the ball is snapped, because all you got to do is run your route. So I'm with you. I think playing clean is important. North Carolina didn't give up a sack last week, and I think that's not something you can expect every week. But if you want to look at something that shows positive trend and shows growth, I think that will be another statistic to watch, is can they keep Drake May clean against what's probably going to be an undersized Appalachian State defensive line, at least compared to what they saw last week. If they can continue to protect him and keep him upright, he'll do Drake May things.
I think we need to watch this North Carolina offensive line how they block in space today. And, I think App State, I don't think anybody on App State is going to bull rush North Carolina.
Right.
I think they'll use twist and all those wide splits
and stunt game
and try to get North Carolina to force them to move their feet. One guy I'm looking at is Willie Lampkin. Look, now.
Can we go back to the play that Trey mentioned about Willie Lampkin blocking somebody eight yards downfield last week?
But you know what's crazy about Willie? We heard Willie struggled against North Carolina's defensive line in practice.
Well,
he was getting blown up in practice. He moved around a little bit. And
he didn't struggle last week.
And then he comes out against South Carolina. So that's one of those things. Is it us or is it them?
He did miss an assignment early in the game. But, again, the play I'm specifically talking about, Hampton ended up getting a good run for a first down. And Lampkin is ahead of him blocking downfield well after the whistle.
Just
rolling number 90, just like pushing him to the dirt and insulting his mama and kicking his dog all in one play.
Well, I will watch Willie a lot today. He is one of those guys where you pull for him because he's so meek and mild and a sweet young man. And then he has the opportunity to go out and do it on a high level. And now he's playing against the App State team that they've seen before.
They've seen it before. Well, so something else, and we might as well be sponsored by the SPCA because we are pro dog on this show, right? Love some dogs, and Willie Lampkin is absolutely a dog if I have ever seen one. And so if that can become a thing if that can become something that is quite contagious, or if that can become a thing that is a mantra. Again, he didn't start last week. Montelis got hurt after the first series or tweaked his ankle a little bit, and they pulled him. And Lampkin went in there and just made a show of it. Yeah. So you love to see guys like that just bring salt. Wake up first thing in the morning, they're pissed off, right? Like, you love to see that in an offensive lineman, to have that kind of dog in him. And again, if you listen to this show at all, Tommy and I are very much pro dog.
Oh, I love some dogs. I mean, I have them as pets. I love watching them on the field. It's just fascinating to watch guys that want it more. Look at there.
We got people bringing us plates.
Yeah, my youngest and the beautiful one bringing us food.
She's definitely where the looks come from.
We're going to eat on air. Sorry.
So let's flip that around. I just asked you, what does success look like today for the offense? What does success look like for the defense?
20 points or less.
Okay. I mean, last week this kind of got hidden, but the fact that North Carolina only gave up 3 points in the second half, I don't care who you're playing against. That's notable because that means you made some adjustments at halftime, and that means you cleaned some things up to the point that they weren't even one-dimensional. They were no-dimensional by the fourth quarter.
Well, the thing about that is, and they also had three fourth-down stops.
Yeah.
And I think that's key for North Carolina is, you're not just playing that third down, you're playing that fourth down as well. And they were able to have success. I don't expect 9 and 16 every week.
Right.
But I do expect.
Nice.
And what's going to be interesting to watch, Joey, and this is something that, I'm not versed enough to pay attention totally. But if I'm App, there's two people I'm not let beat me, and that's Kamen Rucker and Amari Gaynor.
I'm double teaming the edge as best I can.
And then
good sort of interior line.
And sort of try to survive up front. In the interior, we mentioned Tamari Fox, Kevin Hester, and Travis Shaw, and those guys. So that's what I'm watching is I want to see guys make plays when they're on the depth chart, or on the game plan. Kamen Rucker's number one on the game plan for North Carolina's defense.
Absolutely. If he's not number one, fire your defensive coordinator yesterday.
And your offensive coordinator. So you've got Tayon Holloway. How does he hold up? Because he got picked on last week. We mentioned Marcus Allen earlier. They didn't call Marcus Allen's name because they wanted no part of him, but also because Tayon Holloway was there to take advantage of. I want to see those guys step up.
Again, not a coordinator's eye, not a coach's eye, but I will say I think Holloway did well considering. He was in phase. Some big plays. Leggett's just, again, the dude's a preseason All-ACC first-teamer for a reason.
He just got beat.
Several times. You got beat by a veteran player that is a good all-ACC caliber receiver. So the fact that he's a redshirt freshman doing that kind of stuff is not so bad, right? Like, I don't think there's anything necessarily negative about what he did. I do think one of those plays he tried to make the same sort of play on the ball that he would have made in high school, and that'll get you beat. But I don't think he was out of phase. He was hip to hip in 2 of those catches. So I'd love to see him have a little bit of a redemption game today, and it was refreshing to see. He wasn't getting PI called on him. He wasn't getting absolutely roasted down the field chasing the guy from 15 yards back. I mean, he was absolutely doing what you think. He was just getting beat and getting out high pointed for the ball. I can live with that. I'm sure North Carolina's coaches can probably live with that to an extent as well. To your point, I think if those guys can come out today and create some havoc, or keep, who knows, maybe even make a play on the ball and get themselves a pick, that's next level.
Let me grab a couple questions on chat.
We got about 5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, where do we get Tommy Ashley's I See Everything shirt? This is like probably, it's probably one of none.
Ain't but like 4 of them in existence, and the other ones probably don't exist anymore.
If folks want it, we might can make it happen. But this is like, I dust this one off every football season.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, if you are listening or watching this on the YouTube channel, if you blow up the game, or if you blow up the IC live thread on the message boards and say you would buy one of the shirts, I guarantee you it'll show up.
Will DJ Jones get more time on defense today? I think ideally for North Carolina, somebody is able to step up in that star position, but I think at this moment Elijah Hussey's the star. And you got Allen and Holloway on the corners. Perfect world for North Carolina. Somebody steps into that star that's better at star than Hussey, so he can get out to that corner position.
His natural position, then it's he and Allen playing corner.
Yeah, but then the problem is who on this roster currently is better than Hussey at star.
All right, Tommy, we've got a question from AJ from Raleigh.
Not a question so much. I just want to share an interesting score of note.
Okay.
Currently, just going into the half, Clemson is beating Charleston Southern 24-17, and they needed a field goal to make it 7 right at the end of the half.
Well, so Duke is still beating them.
Duke is still beating them.
All right, back to the regular. Thank you, man in the box.
And it looks like Notre Dame's ahead of NC State 17-7, and folks are
correct.
Back to our regularly scheduled discussion. We got about 3 minutes here before we hand it off to the guys.
Colorado kicked Nebraska's rear end.
Oh, just skull dragged.
Thank you, Matt Rule.
Do you believe? Do you believe?
I believe.
I'm coming. Shout out to Coach Prime. All right, Tommy, last thing. Listen, I don't know that Inside Carolina can confirm this. We have seen some rumors online of that Nate McCollum is going to play today. So that's a new addition that Drake May did not have at his disposal last week. Tommy, you guys will have a lot to talk about on the day after tomorrow, and I think folks really enjoyed being able to do that and seeing you with your bird friends in the Westin lobby last week. But we will have our regularly scheduled day after tomorrow. All right, we got 2 minutes left. Thomas, I did not do the preseason prediction. I was pretty close with the North Carolina total last week, but I gave South Carolina too much credit. This week I'm going Tar Heels 45, Nears 20.
Okay.
And that would cover the 19.5 that line is sitting at right now, for those of you who care about such things. But I think today is not only a get-right game for the Heels, but it's not only a get-right game for the Heels, but it's a chance to rip off the coaches, stack a good game on the back of another good game. How about you?
I think North Carolina, you need to build on what you put on tape last week. And I think for App State, this is a good program in the western part of North Carolina, but it should not be a program that should stay on the field very well with North Carolina today.
They've got no business winning a second game.
Yeah, if this game is close, I think North Carolina has they might be who we thought they were prior to the South Carolina game. I think I predicted the other day 40-15, but I'm not so sure about that score total.
That's a weird number.
I just, you got to be different.
What are you playing, squares?
Yeah, because Jason Staples and Greg Barnes do all sorts of
vultures over here trying to eat our food.
I know, really. I mean, stay away, folks. We got some. What is this? Filipino
barbecue.
Yeah, on a stick.
And it looks amazing.
I think what I expect to see here is the defense to show up like they did last week. Obviously, 9-16, I've said it over and over today, is not a rational thought.
What if they roll out and do it again?
If they roll out and do 9-16 again, then I know how the hype train works.
Man, y'all gonna have to redo the preseason prediction pod.
No, I'm still at 10-2 no matter what. But I think for Carolina, I'd just like to see a clean football game where they're able to do what they're supposed to do against a team that's going to be feisty. They're going to bring some effort.
They're going to have some salt.
I said 40-15. I'll go 35-13 maybe.
And that would also cover the spread and fulfill your less than 20 prediction that you want to see.
Yeah.
Well, listen, shout out to everybody who's come by today. Shout out to the people that are starting to fill up the bowls lot and ain't afraid of the rain. Y'all, the rain's gone. We got a ball game to go. We appreciate everybody being here. Shout out to Jason Staples, to Jeremiah Holloway and EJ Wilson for joining the game, to AJ and John Siegley and Jordan on site and Kenny back in the studio. But for Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell, this has been Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill. Catch you next week.